Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we'll be moving straight ahead now to the discussion segment. But of course, let's bring, you our guest for today. He is by name Mr. Dakbo Adaramewa. He is the spokesperson for Badebo Revival of the Labour Party candidate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, now let's talk about the conduct of the election. Of course, the elections have been conducted. Whether or not it was fair or not, the fact remains that it was conducted. But first of all, what is your view as regards that?
Well, I will start by quoting an eminent Nigerian. Power is not served a la carte. You have to snatch it, fight for it, grab it. Is that not what happened in this election? Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu outlined his party's policy and was embodied by Babajide Sanwo-Olu of snatching, grabbing. We saw it. The evidence is out there. You see, but what they forgot to mention when they were laying out their grand plan was that you must also kill for it. You must also turn your neighbor against neighbor for it. They fanned the embers of ethnic hatred in this country. A little trip down history lane. In 1994, a radio station in Rwanda started exactly what they have done to us in Lagos State, fanning the embers of hatred of the Hutus against the Tutsis. Within a short while, over a period of three months, almost 1 million people were killed as a result of that hate that was fanned. Now, it's not a question of what was said, it's out there. There are tweets by eminent Nigerians like Fani Kayode out there insulting the Igbos, instigating people against them, alleging that people are trying to take over Yoruba land. We have a Mr. Bayo, another APC stalwart, who is calling for hatred against the Igbos. But the big question is, when did this election become Igbo versus Yoruba? Because to us, it was a simple function of the old order, who has held Lagosians down for 24 years, who have pillaged and robbed this city blind. They are the cause why you cannot go out of your house at night. They are the reason why things are very expensive in the market. They are the reason why you don't feel safe in your own home in this state. That is what we were fighting against. It was a function of the new, the compassionate, people with a vision for a greater Lagos against those who want to continue stealing and impoverishing this nation. It was never about Yoruba versus Igbo.
Now, if you say, well, like you quoted, power is not given a la carte, are you trying to say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is by virtue of his position in the party APC, gave that instruction that they should go after ballot snatching? Are you saying that they should go after violence in a bid to want to, take the seat of the governorship?
I am not saying, and I will not stand here and try to lecture Lagosians. I want them to go and look at that video. He clearly said it. Power is not served a la carte. You must snatch it. What are they snatching? Are they snatching?
But that's like you are alleging that he meant snatching the ballot boxes.
It is not an alleging matter.
But if something you should snatch.
What are they snatching? How is power ascribed or acquired in a democracy other than the will of the people? Do you snatch the will of the people? Do you snatch their thumbs onto your party's logo? No, you cannot. What else can they snatch apart from a ballot box?
Well, that's an alleged statement.
It's a statement.
It's not something that is established that he meant you going after the ballot boxes and snatching it. Perhaps he might just be saying that, well, if power is not served a la carte, you should know that it's a tough struggle. It might not mean that he is saying go after ballot boxes. Because, of course, if you're held now to say this, you might not be able to substantiate that he meant snatching ballot boxes.
Snatch it, grab it, and run away with it. Please, within a democracy, how else do you acquire power apart from the will of the people? You cannot snatch the will of the people. You cannot grab the will of the people, and you cannot run away with the will of the people. So what else can you snatch? Ballot boxes. And we saw it. See, we saw it on the streets of Lagos. People, the videos are out there. People came out telling, if you are not voting APC, you must go home. If you are Igbo, they rejected you. Our people were attacked, beaten. I have a video on my phone of a young woman. That woman is not up to 21, who was one of our polling agents. She was held down in a cage in a classroom and beaten to a pulp. The last video I saw of her was riling in the hospital.
Were there evidences that these were actually APC sponsored talks, or you just felt maybe because, going by your statement, power is not served a la carte, so go snatch it, do whatever you need to do to grab power?
Let's put it this way. If somebody goes out there,
because anybody could, you know, parade under the guise of APC and commit mayhem, doesn't mean he's APC. There's some truth to that. But let me ask you this question. If somebody goes around and robs you and comes to gift me the phone, robs one of your cameramen and comes to gift me the phone, robs another person in this studio and gives me the phone, wouldn't you at one point ask me, what is wrong with you? Why are you collecting stolen phone? Why can't you tell them to stop? At some point, you have to ask that question. These are people going around acting on behalf of the APC. You cannot tell me they were not incentivized. You cannot tell me that these touts woke up on Saturday morning, stretched their body and said, you know what, I feel like beating people. I feel like attacking Igbos. I feel like forcing people to stay at home against their will. I feel like disenfranchising the Lagosians. For what end? Who is benefiting from this all apart from the structures of the APC? We knew that these things were going to happen. So are you saying their silence for not speaking out, it's an evidence or a testify that they were actually backing them? Is that what you're saying? Given that instance you just listed?
Without a doubt. Now, let me flip it. I challenge anybody to go and find me evidence that in this Lagos state, that the Labour Party and our representatives went around beating anybody. That the Labour Party went around attacking people and forcing them to not vote because they wanted to vote for APC. We didn't do that. And nobody did it on our behalf because we as a people do not share those values. But clearly the APC shares those values. And we can pretend as much as we want in this country. The truth is, I know what happened. You know what happened. Everybody at home watching this knows what happened. Lagosians know what happened. We were robbed, we were beaten, and our mandate was stolen. And the people will never forget. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the people will never forget what you did to us in this election.
What? Now, you've registered your grievance, and of course, let me remind you that not only APC, not only Labour Party, there were other parties that participated in that election.
Of course.
There were PDP, there were other parties like ADC and what have you. What gives you the reason that this couldn't have been masterminded by some other parties? Why are you making it an APC thing? Because it's more like an allegation against the APC.
Because, like I said, we're intelligent beings as Lagosians. You cannot tell me that any other party will hire thugs to help the APC win. How does that make any sense?
Are other parties not in the ring too to also win?
Yes, they're in the ring to win.
So why are you making it an APC versus a Labour Party?
Because they came out and categorically on video, there's video evidence, countless of it, coming out, if you're not voting APC, stay at home. We have evidence that Igbo people were disenfranchised. And I don't understand. Because it was never about Igbo. I am a Yoruba man from Ise-Ekiti. My name is Dapo Adaramewa, a core Yoruba man. And I was in there with Gbadebo Rose Viber and the rest of the team working hard to secure the liberation of this state. Are you telling me now that because Gbadebo's mother was not Yoruba, that disenfranchises or that makes him an illegitimate son? How does that make any sense? Mr. Fani Kayode that is running around, one of his wives, or let me not even call her his wife, one of the ladies that gave birth for him actually is from Igbo ancestry as well. Is he telling us that his child cannot now go for any governorship in any state? It was never about that. It was about well-meaning Nigerians and Lagosians coming together to try and liberate this state that has been held under one party's foot, one man's foot for 24 years and deliver the people of Lagos State. Because the bigger question we must all ask ourselves is, when you go to a hospital and there's no lights, when you do not feel safe, when you are robbed in traffic, when the things are too expensive for you to afford, when you spend hours in traffic in Lagos State, will you turn back and say, thank God that the person ruling us, his mother, is from a Yoruba state, not even from Lagos? Will you say, thank God? If your child is dying in a hospital because there's lack of medical equipment, will you say, thank God, my child might be dying, but thank God that the mother of my governor is from a Yoruba-speaking state. Is that an achievement? In no way. They disenfranchised our people. They stole this election. We know, and the evidence is out there. People can go out there and check the iRev portal. You can see submissions of presidential
we're going to come to that shortly, because we're going to talk about the irregularities that marred the election. But what I just wanted us to finalize at this point is looking at the hate speeches, that went out there. People being profiled from a particular ethnicity as not being fit enough to, cast their ballot for who they want to. What could be the reason behind this hate speech going around, especially towards the Igbo race?
It is a clear ploy by the ruling party to divide Lagosians, because they know the power that we possess as a people when we are united. They brought up this narrative that somehow a man who is not a Lagosian himself is more qualified to be governor of this state than a person, a young man whose lineage is from Lagos State, simply because his mother is not. That was the narrative that was
Don't you also think, because yes, you might say because his mother is from the eastern region and the father is from the west, that might not be the conversation right about now. Because I was with a particular set of people yesterday, and they said they are not doubtful about where he is from. That's not the issue. But not being able to communicate effectively in his mother's tongue, especially in the way he could communicate with his people, speaking Yoruba to them, is not acceptable. They cannot accept such a person who is coming into Lagos knowing fully well that it's more of a Yoruba location that he is trying to canvass vote for, and he cannot be able to communicate effectively. I'm not sure that's the conversation you're towing, but what they're saying out there, that his ability to be able to communicate is the reason why they can't trust him.
Okay. Now,
so how can you address that?
That is at best naive, at worst willfully foolish. For the simple fact that we don't govern Lagos in Yoruba. We don't. The governor does not attend meetings and speak Yoruba in the meetings. Nor does it make him any more compassionate, nor does he make him any more effective as a leader if he can speak Yoruba.
But don't you think communicating effectively to your people in a way they would understand is key, aside from other plans you may have in driving the state?
Now, that is misplaced priorities. The effective way to communicate to your citizenry and the people that you govern is by providing them security, providing them working hospitals, alleviating the traffic so that they are not losing hours of productivity.
So how can you communicate that to the people at the grassroots, especially to the aged ones, who may not be able to understand English because they are not lettered?
No, I don't think there's a large population of voters who do not understand
Because to
English.
some, it was a turn-off when he couldn't communicate effectively.
I don't think that's the narrative right now, because let us focus on the fact that this election was not about his ability to communicate in Yoruba. This election was fanned as ambers of hate. If it was his inability to communicate in Yoruba, then why did Igbo come into the matter? Why were Igbo people beaten? For what? The people that were prevented from leaving their house in this state because of the violence and the gunshots and the attack and the manipulation by INEC were Yoruba people like myself.
So talk to us. So talk to us about the issue of the irregularities, because there was a video. I think your candidate did a live session, where he talked about the irregularities, the alterations that were made on the result and all of that. Talk to us about that.
This is evidence that is black and white. Yes, Mr. Gbadebo Rosevival has clearly stated it in his interview. He showed evidence of where the numbers were manipulated. Working in the situation room, I have also seen this. I have seen our Form EC8 copies come in, and then I compared it to what is on IREF and clearly see that it's not the same thing. Do you understand? We have seen evidence of manipulation, not to talk of, okay, disenfranchisement is a huge part of it. The fact that there were gunshots going out, the fact that thugs were coming to polling units, threatening everybody, that is one part of it. Then the blatant daylight robbery of the rigging. INEC officials on video saying they got an order from above that they cannot upload results at their polling unit.
Do you have proof? Do you have proof for
There's
that?
evidence of that. I will be happy to send that to your station so you can watch the videos yourself. These are issues that are no longer in dispute. And the truth is that APC, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, might think he has won this, but we know what happened. The silent majority of Lagosians who were disenfranchised, who were too worried to leave their house, we know what happened. We saw it. It's there. Videos, pictures, evidence of people bleeding because they simply left their house to go and vote. We know what you did, and we will never forget it.
So how do you intend to go about addressing those irregularities that you mentioned?
That is why we hope that the courts will remain impartial and they will hear our case, because we have overwhelming evidence that the vote was rigged, and we have evidence that the Lagosians were prevented from voting. People were attacked. We know the people that are in hospital. Mr. Gbadebo Roseviver has been paying hospital bills for the past 2 days now from his own personal funds. The evidence is out there. Now, if the court chooses to be objective and hear the case fair, we will know, and they will attest to the fact that this wasn't an election. This was violent robbery that happened on Saturday, right? And if the courts choose not to, in the same way INEC chose not to do their job, the very people of Lagos have it in their hearts and know what Sanwo-Olu did to us. The mothers who are currently mourning over their dead children know what was done to us. The people in hospital who are having stitches after being stabbed and beaten at the polling unit, they know what was done to us. The people at home who were too scared to leave their house because they heard gunshots know what happened. The people who, even in the APC themselves, who saw the videos of what was done on their behalf, know what happened. And we will not forget it.
Now, let's talk about the issue of voter apathy. Let's talk about the issue of voter suppression. Because before now, we saw the last conduct of the presidential elections. People really turn out in their numbers. At least the majority of youth actually participated in that election with the hope and confidence that that will be credible. Now, looking at what we experienced, especially at the gubernatorial and state assembly elections, what could have been the reason for the low turnout? Because that was really discouraging, to say the least.
Yes. Firstly, the stories and the rumors of the impending violence was out there, you know, in the weeks leading up to the election.
But they said those were amateur videos that the police vowed to investigate.
Amateur videos?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
how could you, establish that those were...
I don't understand the statement, amateur videos. I'm sorry I didn't carry a camera crew to come and help me record them beating our people. No, it's not an amateur video. It is evidence. And if the police decide to be objective...
Do you have proof that those videos were evidence that showed that those were real? Because the police is here to give us an established information that those videos emanated from the source. Nigerians thought it came from.
The joy of videos these days, once they are shot on a modern phone, is there's something called metadata. Now, if you read the metadata, you can establish the exact location that the video was recorded.
Do you know the exact location?
We do.
Can you prove this?
Overwhelming evidence, and we will prove it in court.
Because if there are no evidence to back up your claim, that could be libel. I'm sure you know that.
Of 100%.
So you might likely, retract your statement if you are not sure about what you're saying.
I am categorical, and Lagosians are categorically sure that the videos they saw of people being beaten.
So where exactly is the location?
Different locations.
Where exactly?
In Ali Mosho, we had people attacked and beaten. On Lagos Island.
Before the election, those videos you mentioned?
No, not before the elections. I'm saying that people were passing through WhatsApp that, oh, be careful, oh, this election talks will be out. That was a level of voter suppression, right? Do you understand?
Before the election?
That was, yes, we all got that intel. Oh, be careful, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. We saw it play out. And when it happened, we have video evidence of it happening. So there's no denying what happened, and I do have to say that there are members of the security forces who stood up for what was right. There are army officers, the DSS, and some members of the police who stood up for fairness. But overwhelmingly, a lot of them were compromised. We have the case of VGC that the election had to be moved to Sunday because all of a sudden they decided they wanted to do the election on a public road, knowing that there's safety concerns. And when the people said, okay, why don't you move into the estate? The INEC officials refused. Please tell me why an INEC official will refuse. It is still an open space. What exactly is your attachment to that particular road where you know that people will be vulnerable? There's overwhelming evidence of what these people did. And it's just, nobody gets away. You know, there's a saying, you can fool some people sometime, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And a lot of Lagosians, innocent Lagosians, who, shall we say, through naivety, bought into this narrative of, you know, that it is their duty to defend Yoruba land, or, you know, all that foolishness, will wake up and realize that they were lied to. Because the men that were prancing around you and shaking your hand in church before election will go back to their high houses and forget about you again. You're the one that will deal with the consequences of the policies that they've made. You know, so people's eye will clear and they will realize that they were mistaken, they were misled, they were used as tools in the arsenal of these politicians to work against their own interests.
Now, with those evidences that you've just mentioned, maybe when next you come, we would appreciate you come with those videos so that we can as well play it and at the same time be able to authenticate it. We would appreciate that those videos are actually played so that people know, for our viewers who are watching, they would be informed and well guided, so it doesn't look like we are, you know, making fun of any other political party for just the sake of this conversation.
And I will encourage people, your viewers, obviously, they have TVs, they have internet, right? Please YouTube it. Check the reports from, you know, different various places, you know, international news agencies who carry the images, you know, just Google it. If you want to check Twitter, do you understand? This is not a function. Don't take my word for it as to what happened in this election. Research it. Try and be objective, no matter what party you voted for. And there are genuine people who might be in the opposition party who don't, you know, embody these values. There are well-meaning Lagosians who thought they were doing the right thing. I encourage them to go out and go and listen to an alternative view, to seek out the evidence that is out there as to what happened. The Labour Party was not involved in any of this fracas. We went out there, we spoke about our values, we spoke about our vision for Lagos State, and Lagosians overwhelmingly came out to vote for us. But our mandate was stolen.
Now talk to us about the functionality of this device, and of course vis-a-vis the conduct of the INEC staff, because before now there had been some improvement by INEC to make sure that the conduct of the election would be successful. What was it like, especially in your location and of course other locations, when it comes to the functionality of this device? I mean the BVAS. And of course, were there issues with network and how was it resolved? Were the staff of INEC, you know, at the locations right on time? What were your observations?
In terms of the arrival was okay. But in some parts, particularly the areas where, you know, we know that there's a lot of labor support, they did arrive late. But that wasn't even the issue. The main issue was the refusal to upload results at the polling unit.
Did that also happen?
It happened.
Just in your location alone?
No. Across the state, there's multiple videos coming in of them, you know, refusing. There's a video of one of them, point blank, saying that they will not.
Do you have evidence for that?
100%.
Please, we'll appreciate those evidences because we need to update and inform our audience on the right information we're giving. What was the actual reason they stated for not uploading? Because we were told that those issues had been worked on, especially with the configuration of the beavers.
An order, apparently, from above.
So what was the issue or the reason they gave specifically for not uploading?
Okay, I will give you two instances that I'm sure of. In one instance, there's a video of the young lady who was representing INEC who categorically said they received an order not to upload from the polling unit. They were alerting the voters before they even voted, so that if you have a problem, you go. There's another one that happened in Lagos Island. I was with a gentleman that was at his polling unit yesterday. In fact, he showed me the video where he was talking to the man, upload this, and the man kept saying, I'm trying. And I said, but look, you've off the network now. It's like
really?
Hard. Yes. Do you understand? So these are people who are intentionally, maybe through some inducement or fear for their own lives, have been told that they cannot
at that
upload.
point in time where that individual spotted it, that data has been turned off, what did he do at that point?
He alerted the man and alerted everybody else, and they refused to let them leave the venue until they did it, and they were forced to do it. You see, what a lot of these people don't understand is, when you the security forces are not allowed to do their job or are unable to do their job. We have cases of citizens, having to fight for themselves. Now, I believe there was a case in Festac of somebody who was killed by a security agent. Very unfortunate, because he was trying to snatch a ballot box. It's a shame that the citizens have to go out there and be forced to defend themselves. But I assure you that we don't want that situation, because what it leads to is chaos. Now, we have countries like Dominican Republic where elections are war, because either side has gangs that work for them. The men who allegedly, let's say, worked for the APC and went out there and snatched ballot boxes, they're not loyal to the APC. They're not loyal to any tribe. They're loyal to the person who is paying them money. And while the Labour Party, in its wisdom, will never stoop so low to do these things, at some point another opposition might rise who have no problem hiring thugs of their own. Then what will our elections turn to? And then let me ask Lagosians, let me ask you, what happens with those thugs who felt they were agents of the state and were allowed to do violence on behalf of the state? What happens on Monday after they are done? They will spend the money within 1 week, yes? Then what happens? Do you think they are now scared of the state anymore? They worked for the state. What are they going to do apart from go back to the thuggery that the state has taught them how to do? And these are the people that are robbing our houses. These are the people that are breaking people's windshield and snatching their phones. Something that the sitting governor told us to just simply wind up. This is the same governor that went on TV and told us that after what happened to NSAS, we should snap out of it. People died and we should snap out of it. Are we going to be asked to snap out of what happened on Saturday as well? And we should just forget about it? To me, it is insane that in the commercial capital of this great country, this is happening.
Now, talk to us about the aspect of persons with special needs. I mean, persons with disabilities. How were they able to cope with, the
I haven't seen any particular evidence of how they fared in this election, but it's safe to say that if well-meaning, able-bodied Lagosians were too terrified to leave their house for fear of violence because they were hearing gunshots and because they were seeing images that were being broadcast on TV of what is happening around the country, it's safe to say that somebody who has a disability might be in a worse position to even leave their house. Because unlike everybody else, if something comes, they might not be able to get away. They might not be able to see what is happening, So it's very unlikely that people with disabilities would have felt comfortable in all these polling units where there was violence to come out and be able to cast their vote.
Anyway, we've talked so much about this. For the sake of we striking a balance, I'll be bringing in yet another guest to also react to issues that you just addressed now.
Thank you.
And that will be right after this break. Please don't go nowhere.